So, you want to read more, or perhaps you're just looking for some good recommendations, or you've been reading quite a bit but it's starting to feel a bit tiresome now and you want to fall back in love with it. Well, then have I got the video for you, because it's a period that I've been going through myself as well, and I thought I'd share my experiences on it through the journey of my reading. I am going to chapterize my very first video into 4 parts. You can skip ahead if you like to the part that most interests you, or you can watch the entire video, which I would recommend. But I will be going through my journey of reading and how I have improved my reading, how my reading has evolved, and what I have done to read more and to make reading feel like the joy that it felt back when I was a little kid. Which is a great place to start. The beginning. In order to read more, I feel it is first very important to understand why you fell in love with reading. And I know what that was for me. As a kid, I've always loved reading. I have always been a very avid reader, from Geronimo Stilton to Diary of a Wimpy Kid. But obviously you don't stay a kid forever. Your reading changes and the things you're interested in change. It is that collection that I do have here because the rest is still at home. But for me, that really started with my interest within physics. Delving into quantum physics, regular physics. I hope you can see the books. And obviously Stephen Hawking and Richard Feynman came into the picture. This is when my first proper reading began. As a teenager, I devoured quite a lot of books, which was very fun in the beginning. And as my interests and my passions grew, I started to delve from purely scientific works more into philosophy, as is very understandable, I reckon. I stumbled across Discourses and Selected Writings by Epictetus, which will be a very important book, which I will be getting back to in the rest of the video. From there, my love for philosophy really grew, and I started to read more Aristotle. I started to read more Seneca and Horace as well. Both very fun books, and really delving into the philosophy of it all. But from there, unfortunately, my reading diminished. And it is this that I want to drive home. Understanding why you're reading. For me, this began with a very big interest into wanting to understand physics and science better, which was there from a kid. Really reading because you wanted to read. But unfortunately, that period faded away at some point for me. And one very noticeable way in which my love for reading dropped off can be summarized in 3 books. I think you can already tell one reason as to why my love for reading dropped off. And that is quite clearly because I went for works that were far over my reading level. It's the first warning I want to give on what to avoid to maintain your love for reading. Don Quixote is a very interesting story, but a very big one. The Republic by Plato, along with other works, is a very intricate and long discussion. Kafka needs no introduction, and I was boxing above my weight class. It's the one thing I'd recommend you not to do, is to pick books that are too big or too hard for your level. Now, the second thing that became very important was that I followed the golden tip that you should take 10 minutes every evening to read a book, and you'd get through a book in no time. It is the second most important thing to avoid, is to not fall into the trap of just reading before you go to bed. Certain books require specific times to be read. Don't think that everything can be read right before you fall asleep, because some books require attention. And I did not do that. And it made it such that every time when I went to bed, I didn't look forward to reading this book because I didn't catch most of it. Another thing that became really apparent to me on something that you maybe shouldn't do, now this is more personal, is to not tell everybody what you're reading. I was very big on reading Don Quixote because it is one of the classics and it is known to be very good. But I told everybody that I was reading Don Quixote, which made it such that everybody kept asking me how the book was going, where I was, how interesting I found it. I felt like I wasn't reading enough or understanding it well enough. Same with Plato, same with Kafka. To the point where reading it felt more like a social obligation to others than reading it for myself. And it's the third thing that I'd really want you to understand, is to perhaps keep it to yourself such that you're also reading it for yourself. Which ties in perfectly with my fourth recommendation, and that is to pick books that interest you. I think that's where the fourth mistake lies, in that you should pick and read books that really speak to you, rather than picking books that are just well known or highly rated. Let's hope the audio recording levels are correct. My biggest recommendation, if you'd want to fall in love with reading again, is to pick up classical literature. Now, do let it be known that it has to be classical literature that you are still very interested in, as I've mentioned before. But understand why classical literature is classical literature. There's a reason it's so revered and it's known to be so good. For me, that started with Animal Farm by George Orwell. It's an amazing, rather short story. Same could be said for The Old Man and the Sea by Hemingway. The fact that it's an old story actually works in its favour because it's very easy to read through. As Hemingway is a master of simplifying and shortening stories, it becomes quite clear that a great story need not be 500 pages long. It can be captured and held within 2 fingers and deliver a very powerful message. From there on out, I started to explore more classics, such as Shakespeare, King Lear, 1984 by George Orwell, which is already quite a bit bigger. But the one thing I'd really recommend is to pick up classics. Classics that speak to you, classics that sound interesting. For me, this included these books. They really spoke to me. I knew that they were classics, and they sounded quite interesting to me, so I picked them up and I started reading them. The fact that they're short stories really plays in their advantage. There are a lot of things I've found out that you can do, and there are probably a lot more things than I've just discussed in this video that you could do. But for me, the first thing is to really switch it up. As you can tell by the things I've read in the past, I'm very big on science and philosophy within my reading. And that's fine, but there are way more books out there than just self-help books. It is great to switch it up, and for me that was by going back into fiction to a work that I unfortunately have not brought to the park, but I reread Don Quixote, which was phenomenal the second time around, because I knew what I was getting into. I'd already been reading a bit more for quite a few years now. The second thing I could recommend to you was something that really worked for me again, and that was by asking recommendations to friends, family, people in your bookshop, people that know books and that have favourites. For my birthday, a great friend of mine gifted me Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I do not have it here because I love the book so much that I lent it out to my mum. There's one thing I'd recommend, it's to ask or to receive the favourites from your friends or your relatives and understand why they like the story. Because it is very interesting to read a book and try to not only see what you see in it, but try to see why they like it so much. It's a completely new experience of reading a book, and it's really fun. Quick side note, another great recommendation for that would be Tuesdays with Morrie. I'd really recommend that one because it is simply phenomenal. If you haven't got like relatives or people you know that love books, let me be the one to tell you to read 2 books, and that would be Love in the Time of Cholera right now and Tuesdays with Morrie. You'll understand me, just read them, they're phenomenal. Anyways, a different way to really switch up your reading is to start reading in your native language again. Because I read a lot in English, but to switch it up and to read in your own native language again, like you did as a kid, like I've done with Stoner, or
simple philosophy, something that already interested me, but reading it in German, because the author wrote it in German, is something that really spices it up and it freshens it up greatly. And it's a very fun way to challenge yourself a bit more, to read something that maybe interests you. My mum recommended me this book, but she only had it in Dutch. I wouldn't pick up a book in Dutch, but because my mum recommended it to me and it was in Dutch, it was a great refresher. It was really fun to do. The third way to do so would be to go back to, like I said, the Geronimo Stilton stories that I used to read. Geronimo Stilton made an adaptation on 20,000 Nautical Leagues Under the Sea. I hope I'm saying that correct. First time, I think. But it was a great story to read as a kid, like the Geronimo Stilton version of it. But going back into that, knowing the story, but then reading the proper work of it, with an amazing art cover, let's be honest, was very fun to do as well. So delving back into... Sirens. One sec. Anyways, delving back into understanding why you love reading is great to do as well. I really liked this story as a kid. There are a few others that I haven't yet read that I know I love the Geronimo Stilton version of. It is okay to read childlike stories, or to read stories again that you loved as a child, but then the proper version, shall we say. But understanding, like I said in the beginning, why you love reading, and then going back to those origins is great fun. Obviously, if there's one more thing I'd recommend to you, it'd be to choose stories that speak to you on a personal level. I implement this by reading meditations by Marcus Aurelius. One meditation a day during breakfast, nothing more than that. Keep it simple, keep it light, but this book really speaks to me. It's the reason I've gone back to Discourses and Selected Writings by Epictetus so many times. I love these kinds of books. Standing in a bookshop and just picking a book of which I like the cover, and then reading the inside and realizing, The Waves by Virginia Woolf. This captivated me right away at the bookshop, and I picked it up, not having read the online reviews or anything. They're not that great apparently. But the book really spoke to me, and it's why I picked it up. And I've been really loving it so far. It's a bit complicated, but it's been real fun. More books like that for me have been Meditations for Mortals. Going to start a video on that as well, because it will be great, I reckon. But also being a bit more performative, let's say. I'm reading poems, the collected versions by Oscar Wilde. Reading the beginnings of Yin and Yang in the Tao Te Ching collection. Or a book that I happened to come across on Pinterest, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow, which is also a great recommendation if you want to get into something very easy and very light, but incredibly captivating. Now, with all of that out of the way, let me make one thing very clear. Go to a cozy coffee shop, read on your couch with a cup of tea, go to the museum or the botanical garden and read a book there. Be performative as hell with it, as long as you like it. It does not matter. I am recording outside right now, by the way. It does not matter what people think about it. Whether you read in public, you read at home. As long as you like what you're reading and where you're reading, you will love reading. Don't be ashamed to do so. Oh, whoops. But most importantly, be kind to yourself. It is okay if any of the books I've just recommended aren't things for you and you haven't finished the book. It is okay if you don't finish a book. Be kind to yourself, keep it light, enjoy it. And I hope that some of the things I've said have made that possible for you, so that you can enjoy and romanticize your reading a bit more. I wish you all the best. I thank you all for watching. It has been incredible fun to be doing this, and I've been liking it a lot. I hope you liked the video. I hope this one was a bit better than the previous one. But I want to thank each and every one of you all for watching. You know I love you, and I will see you in the very next video. Bye-bye.